Bella and welcome to my series, Building in the Pitch Black. I'm a 22-year-old aspiring entrepreneur looking into a funding round for a business idea that I have. This series is about what I've learned and what I want to learn, and to kind of show you the journey along as a startup founder and show initially from idea all the way to execution. This episode is going to be about how to actually find a business idea. I feel like finding a business idea is one of the things that people massively oversimplify. You always hear solve a problem, scratch an itch, follow your passion, but these things aren't advice, they're just kind of sayings. No one explains to you how to actually get the idea in the first place. When you're starting from zero, like I am, I honestly get quite overwhelmed. So in this episode, I want to walk you through my actual messy process of how I've been finding business ideas, and not just a polished success story or here's £1 million idea. I want to show you what I've actually tried, what hasn't worked, what has worked, and why it's harder than people make it seem. And the next episode is going to be 50 business ideas that you can steal and adapt, and I'm going to show you why they're good business ideas and maybe just some little things that might inspire you as well. So before I even get into how I've been brainstorming and the process, I think it's important to say this, that finding a business idea is not just about being creative. It's kind of a weird mix of self-awareness, market awareness, timing, experience, expertise, and honestly a bit of luck. Because you're trying to find something that sits in the middle of what people need, what people will pay for, and what realistically you can build and execute, when you don't have the experience, connections or background in business, the overlap of finding this is really, really hard. I think there's a pressure on finding a perfect idea, but so many businesses pivot anyway. I think there's a pressure to find a perfect idea, like it needs to be original, scalable, impressive, fundable, all at the same time. And the pressure stops you from coming up with any actual ideas that you think are good. So one thing I've been trying to do is just lower that bar for myself and not think of a perfect idea, just what's an idea. Majority of startups pivot within their first year anyway from their original ideas for so many reasons, so there's no need for an idea to be perfect right now, you just need to have the idea. The idea is also worth nothing. 5 people can have the same idea, but it's the execution that is everything. So just because you have this amazing business, it's how you execute it is important, and that is why the next steps are more important than the actual idea. So do not dwell on this too long, come up with some ideas, come up with inspiration, and then get moving and make actual steps to actually helping the idea. So here's what my process actually looks like. It's not glamorous, it's quite messy, but it's mostly been in my notes app on my phone. I just call it business ideas, and then have bullet points all the way down the side, random voice notes. If I'm walking and thinking about things, I just quickly voice note into my phone and then later add them to the list. It's messy lists of just problems that I have or things that really inspire me, and I go down rabbit holes about. I've been looking into Greek mythology recently, so I wrote that down as kind of educational of Greek mythology into regular it's kind of a content idea, so I put that in my list, even though it's not a business idea as such, it's just a idea. I started writing everything down, no matter how bad it was. Even some of the worst ideas that I have are in my notes app still to this day, because they could change, they could adapt, and they could be something better in the future. I think it's really important because your first ideas usually aren't the best, but they're the things that show inspiration and show the progress that you're making. If you have no ideas, it looks really, really scary, but if you have a full list of things, even if they're not good, it's less daunting. They're going to be obvious, they're going to be quite generic, they're probably going to be things that we've done before, but you have to get those out of the way first. Once you have all the ideas down, you can then start grouping them into themes. So themes are problems, frustrations, industries like interests that I'm interested in, and then things I personally spend money on. Instead of jumping straight into a business, I focus more on what problems keep coming up. I kind of realise that the idea comes after the problem, not the other way around. I don't have an idea and then I see the problem. You have the problem and then have the idea after it. So you kind of need to look into your life, kind of turn it inwardly, then externally. One of the most common pieces of advice is scratch your own itch, which basically means build something that you have a problem with personally. This kind of works because you can understand the problem deeply, you know what a good solution would look like, and you are the first customer yourself, so you know what you would want. I kind of started asking myself what annoys me on a regular basis. Your day-to-day routine, what do you see? And what are your problems? It's nothing big, no dramatic big problems, just the little things that are annoying or inconvenience to you, and just everyday frictions really. Things like processes that feel more complicated, things that waste time, things that feel outdated, things that aren't really streamlined and effective. But I also realised something quite important. Just because something's annoying me doesn't mean it's a good business idea. It needs to be a shared problem that happens frequently and that other people care enough about to fix, but maybe it's too complicated for them to fix personally. A scratch your own itch is a great starting point, but it's not the whole answer. An example of this is when I was decorating one of my flats. I really wanted to find kind of a baroque ornate style mirror, and I couldn't find them anywhere online. They were all like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. The shipping was crazy, they weren't the style I wanted, they were really expensive, they were shopping from like abroad. So I thought, I'm gonna start a business of these ornate mirrors and kind of find them secondhand, find them cheap. So I was going to car boot sales, charity shops. When I had the stock, I then understood why it was so expensive. Shipping out mirrors is a pain. They're so fragile, they're huge. I logistically couldn't do it myself. So that might be a business idea for the future. But right now I don't have the execution skills to be able to do it, or the funding to be able to get all the packaging supplies needed. Even though I got these mirrors for really, really good prices, I can't physically fund it right now. So it was a problem that I had, other people shared, other interior designers, I looked on forums, they had the same issues, but right now it wasn't the best idea for me. Another thing I've been thinking about is, should ideas come from passion or should it come from a market? There's a lot of conflicting advice on passion or market opportunity. Passion is really, really important. If you're not passionate about it, you won't want to put the work in, you won't want to do it. But just because you're passionate about it doesn't mean there's market opportunity there. Just because you have a passion, doesn't mean there's demand for it, doesn't mean people will pay for it, or it doesn't mean it can also scale, which are all important things in an idea. Then there are market opportunities that are clearly really, really good. They're filling a gap in the market or a niche market that hasn't existed yet, but you don't feel particularly excited about it. So trying to find the balance between the two is very, very important. It's not what am I obsessed with, what is purely profitable, but what am I interested enough to stick with, and that also solves a real problem. But realistically, building a business takes time, and if you don't care about the space at all, you're probably going to give up. So you do need some passion or some interest in the area at least, or else you won't be able to fully execute the business idea that you've got. Another angle I've been exploring is trends, because sometimes ideas don't come from nowhere, they come from what's already happened and they kind of recycle. Like fashion, things come back around again. So I've been looking at what people are talking about, what grows quickly and what feels early, what looks like the next step in the market is going to be. So it's important when we look at trends and not to copy, but to understand where attention is going. It's importantly, where is the gaps right now, and where they're moving to the future, how is that going to be adapted from what it previously was. Trends can show you new behaviours, new problems, new experiences, and I think it's a key not to just jump on the trend, but to ask what's missing. You can do this by physical market analysis, going online, looking at competitors in a certain industry, and mapping it out, kind of doing a SWOT analysis and doing like cost by quality and actually visually mapping it out, or also just general forums on what people are seeing. People usually say if they have a problem, they complain about it. Forums will be one of the places that people are constantly complaining, so use these to your advantage to find people's problems if they keep coming up over and over again. I kind of wanted to talk about the ideas that didn't work. I've had quite a few ideas that I've just thought of and I think about it and they don't work, or I physically do it and they don't work. So ideas that sound good at first, but when after 5 minutes they kind of fall apart. So either the market's too small, they already existed, or someone does it better with more expertise than me, or there's no real way of building it. Honestly, it's really frustrating. Like, you find an idea, you feel really passionate about it, and then you go to actually execute it and it's just not possible, and it kind of feels like a dead end. It's kind of frustrating because it feels like every idea you come up with is wrong, but it's actually part of the process. So being able to cross them out and not seeing them as good ideas is part of this step-by-step process of going through finding your right idea. Each bad idea kind of makes you clarify your thinking, it shows you what doesn't work and why, and it gets you closer to something better. It's just kind of the next step that you need to go through to find your idea. So instead of seeing those as failures, see them as little bits of progress and see you getting closer to your actual idea for the future. So back to my mirror idea. Obviously once I started executing that, and then it got to the logistics of shipping it out and packaging it up and all things like that, like it just did not work. And that was really annoying because in my head I have this vision of a beautiful shop, like a physical store presence, but it's not financially feasible. It's a whole other ballpark that I wasn't passionate enough to really go into, and I didn't think there was that funding space there either. And there wasn't the demand for a physical shop, even though I would like it. It's just not what the market wants. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I have my list. I found one that feels right. I understood what I was looking for. I've kind of validated the idea, and I've got a lot of inspiration for the future that might turn into things. I'm so passionate about so many different things that I kind of find it easy to come up with ideas. You can list your things that you're passionate about, you can list the problems, and you can list the ideas. It's sort of in a grid-like thing, and you will come up with ideas. It does take time. I maybe write a new idea down every couple of days. So it probably takes a couple of weeks for me to really come up with a good idea, but in a couple of weeks I'll have 10 or 15 already written down, and one out of them, 10 or 15, will be really good. So it does take time. You can't sit down and come up with an idea straight away. Maybe you can, most people can't. So it will take time. Talk with people, friends, family, discuss on online forums. There's so much support out there if you want to find a good idea. So don't stress yourself or put too much pressure on yourself. It takes time and it will come. I think it's also important to keep your list no matter what, even when you found the good idea, and continue to add to it constantly. When you're building your business at the same time, keep adding content to this list. Most content jumps straight into I have an idea and now I have a business, but there's this whole introduction messy part that people just miss out, where they're trying to figure out ideas, and it's the hardest part to just go all in on one idea. So finding that is really, really important. So the next episode, I'm going to give you 15 business ideas. Some are going to be really, really amazing ideas, and some are going to be a little bit more terrible that you can adapt and see problems with it, and you can critique them yourself. And then once you can do that with my list, do it with your list. Look at my list, think what I've created, critique them, think what's wrong with them, think what's right with them, and then do that to your own list that you've created, and then you should be able to find a good business idea. So I've landed on an idea. I don't know if it's the one, I don't know if it's going to work, but this stage is not about perfection, it's about momentum. So it's about really getting started on that idea, and it's going to shift and change and move, and you don't have everything figured out, but when you decide to take something, you need to run with it and really make actionable points. So that's what I'm going to do, and I hope to see you in the next episode, where I'm going to share my next business ideas. Bye.